I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and it occurred to me the other day that I haven't done a witchy video for you for ages and ages and ages. Mostly because I always last minute my witchy stuff and I forget that there's something that you might like to see as well. So, I have a new to me car, it's a second-hand car, it's from 2011, and although it's all running nicely at the moment, it's an older car and older cars get problems. So today I'm going to make a protective spell for my car, and I'm going to do that in a similar sort of way to how you might do a house protection spell. As in, I'm going to do a witch's jar. And usually when you've done a witch's jar, you would bury it on your property. Obviously I can't do that in my car, so I'm going to tuck it away somewhere deep in the hidden bits of the car, and we'll call that buried instead. I am going to gather some stuff together for it nowish. I might go out and collect some wild plants for it as well, but a lot of the stuff that I'll be using will be stuff that I've just got knocking around in my house, and so you might well be able to do something similar. It is absolutely valid to take this as an idea and put completely different ingredients in it, or take this as a recipe but then leave bits out because you don't have them, or it has a different association for you personally. There isn't a wrong way to do your craft. There isn't a wrong way to be a witch. There isn't a wrong way to make your magic. So if it feels right for you, do it. Because magical practice is all about what feels right for you. There is no wrong way to do it. This is just how I'm going to do it today. I gotta go and grab a glass jar for mine. I got some fancy ones that I was given as a birthday gift, but honestly, any jar, paper bag, anything like that would do the job just as well. Something doesn't have to look fancy and witchy for it to work as a witch's item. You don't need to grow all of your herbs and stuff yourself. My garden is really, really wild at the moment, and a lot of the ingredients that I need are wild plants, so I am going to go out into the overgrownness and see what I can find. Husband and I have been super busy this year, so the garden is looking somewhat overgrown right now, but that should mean that I'm able to find what I'm looking for. I definitely want some dandelion, and these are far and away past their best, so I should be able to pull it out and get the root without causing any harm to the local wildlife. I'm also going to need just a little bit of nettle for protection, but I don't want too much because it can be very, very potent. I'm just going to slip it into my bag there. I don't know if you saw that, but I managed to drop it in there without actually touching it. I want some grass as well. I'll explain the whys of all these things in a little while. I'm going to gather some of this holly too. I need some of this alder as well, I think. Got one little meadow buttercup in my garden there as well. I'm going to be picking that for my spell jar too. I actually came out here looking for comfrey, feverfew, maybe a bit of plantain. Didn't find any of that. Found a lot of other stuff though that will be useful. I have now gathered up all of my ingredients and ready to start doing the spell, but the first thing I need to do is prepare my sacred space. And for you that might mean lighting up some candles, putting some incense on, putting your witchy playlist on, putting particular clothing or jewellery on. For me, it means cleaning my kitchen first, because I can't be inviting spirits and gods into this mess, can I? They're going to think I'm a right sloven. So we're going to give the kitchen a good clean, just a normal physical clean. And while I'm doing that, my brain will be getting ready to get into witchy mode. So boom, just like that, just like magic, my kitchen is now nice and clean. I've taken the rubbish out, I've cleared the sink, we've given it a good shine, and I am feeling grounded and ready to do my work in. And so it's time to gather our ingredients together now. I've brought you in a little bit closer to make it easier for you to see. Bit worried that I'm going to keep cutting my head off, but we'll do what we can to work with that. So I've got my little jar ready, and the first thing I'm going to do actually is make a sigil. There are lots and lots of different ways that you can make a sigil. It really is as unique to you as it needs to be. So I have now designed my little sigil. I'm quite happy with how it came out. To anybody else it just looks like squiggles, but to me that is a symbol of great intense power, and to me is the only person that it needs to be powerful for. And once I've done that, Some people like to destroy their sigils. That works quite well. You can burn them, tear them up, throw them away, whatever. But because I'm making a spell jar, and this is just to sort of add to the power of that, what I'm going to do is fold it up nice and small. I'm going to tie it back up with this piece of twine that came with it, just because I like it and think it's cute and don't want it to go to waste. But it'll also stop it popping back open in there and getting in the way of other things. We're going to need some salt. Oh no, I haven't got any special magic salt. Neither have I. Salt is salt. It doesn't care. And I like to base all of my little jars on salt because firstly, it is associated with the earth element. And I want this to be an earthy kind of safe spell. And it's also good for purification. And it pretty much is a substitute for any gemstone, and I'm not going to be able to fit any gemstones in there. This is going to get very messy as we go along. I can see it coming already. Let's not lose the cork. So now my little magic sigil is going to go in there with the salt. And you know what? At its base, that would be fine just on its own. But we're going to add some more stuff in too. The next thing that I'm going to be adding in is a teaspoon of sugar. Why am I putting a teaspoon of sugar in? Well, because I want the journeys that my car takes me on to be sweet ones, full of happiness and laughter and joy. And so we need a lot of sweetness in there. It would not be very sweet to be stuck at the side of the road because I've broken down. Hopefully this will prevent that. It's looking good already, but we need more colour, I think. So I have gathered together some herbs and spices now. Some of them have got multiple uses, and so it's all about your intention when you put them in. For example, I've got some ground coriander here that I'm going to be using. I'm using it because it is associated with increasing mental alertness, and I want to be alert, awake and aware when I'm driving. I want other people around me to be mentally clear and awake as well, and so it seems like a really good thing to put in. But it also has associations with love and sex magic, things like that. And so it's really important that you're focusing on the right thing when you're putting this into your spell. I don't want my car to become a hotbed of lustful activity. It is not big enough for that. And so we have to make sure that we're really focusing on what I want this for right now is for an increase in my mental alertness, my intuitiveness, because that's always useful when you're driving to be able to intuit what other drivers are going to do, and general clarity. I want to be thinking really clearly every single time that I'm driving. Along the same lines, rosemary is for remembrance. It's generally associated with death and stuff, but I'm putting some in because, again, I want to remember the rules of the road. I want the people around me to remember the rules of the road. And so I am putting some of that in there too, and I'm focusing on that is what I want it for, to help us all to remember the rules of the road, to make our driving a safer and more pleasant experience. I'm definitely going to have to sweep the floor when I'm done here. What else do I have? Basil. Basil is known as the witch's herb because it is just so good for every single thing. Everything. Love, exorcism, wealth, sympathy, but also protection. So I've just got a little handful of basil to put in there as well. And we're focusing on those protective qualities. Protect me while I'm driving. Protect my children while I'm driving. Protect other users of the road from my driving, because nobody is perfect and accidents happen. This is filling up quite quickly and we have a lot still to go. It's smelling very strange already. I like that though. I like a strange smell. What else have we got? We've got some sage in here. That's for healing and protection. A lot of people use white sage. That is a Native American practice and I'm pretty sure it is a closed practice. Green sage will work just as well, is not endangered and can be bought at your supermarket, and it's much better to use for those reasons. So just your standard supermarket sage, it will do the job just as well as the fancy endangered one that you've bought online, and it's better for the environment as well, which is going to make your spell more potent because Mother Earth doesn't like it when we mistreat her, you know. So what was that again? Sage, generally for protection. And also for healing as well, but we were focusing mostly on the protective elements there. Now I have got some sweet cinnamon for protection and for luck and for pepping up our spells a bit. But again, this is another one that is often used in love and lust sort of things. So make sure we're really focusing on that we want the protective element of it. I keep tapping that to make the powders settle because otherwise they can gather on the sides of the glass. If you look here, you can see they're a bit gathered on the sides of the glass, making it look cloudy. But on this side, they're very happy. I've just realised that I forgot to say to you that I did actually cleanse this jar before I started. So I gave it a little clean in holy water and a little swizz around with some incense to cleanse it with air as well. We've also got some ground ginger in here. And this is normally for warming and success spells. But in this particular case, I'm using it to increase my magical power. That is a very common usage of ginger. You can use ginger root or ginger powder. It really doesn't matter. That does not feel like that lid's on properly, but apparently it is. Oh, we've got quite a lot in there, but that's okay. We want it to be a very successful spell. So now we've got the ginger in there as well. Oh, that's definitely smelling like something that could clear your sinuses out. But it's looking cute so far. Those are our dried and kitchen cupboard herbs. Now I'm going to add in the ones that I got from the garden. Some of this is painful, hence my wrapping my hand over tea towel, because I've got bramble in here, because the thorns are quite protective. I've got holly in here, but I've also got stinging nettle, and I can't see it in here now. I know, let's just dump this bag out, shall we? That'll probably work better. Okay, so I have got some elder here from the elder tree. It's got some blossom and berries just starting to appear on it there. An elder tree is, generally speaking, for protection. Gosh, that is a strong smell. I'm going to have to break it down to fit it into the jar. That is okay. It doesn't mind. I'm just going to kind of scrunch it up and stuff it in. Probably don't need this much. Oh my gosh. It's very strong smelling considering how close to the season we are. I'm going to make sure I've got the little buds in there. I don't know how well you can see those because they contain all the potential of the plant, you know. What else? Ah, that's the one that I want to be a bit careful with. So, I don't think that you get nettles in America. My uncle was stung by a nettle when he came to visit. He's from America, and he thought a snake had bitten him. They are very painful. And so I'm being very, very careful. If you have gardening gloves, that would be a much, much better way of harvesting your nettle and putting it in there. Look how innocent that looks. The pain that it causes. I might even need some tweezers. Terrifying. Right, there's the nettle. In case you didn't notice, that's in there for protection. It's gonna scare away anything that wants to hurt me. And the same is true of the bramble, because they've got these vicious little barbs on because it's very early in the season. It's a new plant, and so it wants to protect itself from predators, and now it can protect me too. I've got both the spikiest bit that I could find, and again a bit with little buds on, because that contains the potential of the plant. I have here some holly, also for protection, obviously. I'm going to take the youngest leaves and stuff them in there, even though they're not very spiky, because I'm never going to fit a big one in there. I might take a little bit of the big leaf because it's sharper, but like I say, I think the young part of the leaf will work okay anyway. I also have some yew here for protection as well. Be very careful not to ingest that. It is very poisonous. I've got some dandelion leaves here as well. Dandelion is brilliant all-rounder as well because the leaves are a diuretic and they're a brilliant source of iron. All parts of the plant, as far as I know, double check that before eating them, are fully edible. But also they've got loads and loads of magical properties as well. You can use them to make wishes, to purify, defeat negativities. I'm wishing for healthy, safe and happy travels. I want my car to be purified and any negativity that's left over from the previous owner to dissipate. I'm just pushing that down with my scissors because they fit in. I also collected some dandelion seeds for the same reason. lots of wishes because they're so joyful. I just find dandelions so joyful, and I want my card to take me to places where I'm going to experience that joy. I'm going to experience that happiness. We're going to go on adventures that are going to be great fun. And for that reason, I'm also including a buttercup, even though it doesn't, to my knowledge, have any protective properties, but they're just so joyful. They bring about a childlike sense of joy, and so I'm putting them in there too. And that's the most important thing with any magical working, which I think I've said already, is that it's about what resonates with you. I'm also going to stick just some grass in there as well to help me stay grounded on my travels. Apparently, it is good for protective spells where you travel across land, but I cannot find a correspondence that backs that up, just a website that says it. But it resonates with me as something to keep me grounded and keep my feet on the ground, so that I'm not off away in my own head and daydreaming when I'm driving. I want to be nice and grounded. And also, you know, I want the car to take us on some adventures. I don't want to stay home all the time, so maybe adding some grass in there will encourage me to touch grass a little bit more often. Right, that is all of my fresh herbs. Now we're getting into a few other little bits and bobs, but I want to clean this up first so I don't sting myself. I've just realised that I did in fact forget one thing from my herbs from the cupboard part, and that was garlic. Garlic is an excellent protective herb. I don't actually know why, I've just been told this is the case. I have developed a theory that it protects you because no one's going to want to come near you if you eat enough garlic. So I wouldn't put this in a spell if you're using a paper bag or something, because the garlic will mature over time and stink your car out. But I am sealing this in an airtight glass jar so I can get away with it. I'm putting fresh garlic in, but powdered garlic or garlic salt would probably work just as well. And that really is the end of the cupboard things. So, our jar is looking really quite full, but I'm not quite done yet. Next is my oil and other bits. So, I am going to be putting in, well, actually, this isn't really an oil, this is an incense. I'm putting in some dragon's blood incense for protection. Pop that in there. The garlic has not improved the smell. It was smelling quite nice and gardeny up until then. It really isn't now. I'm sure that the addition of some dragon's blood incense is really going to help that out. What I'm doing is I'm just cutting up some incense and putting it in because I didn't have any dragon's blood resin, and I figure they're the same thing, right? And so you might not think they're the same thing. If you don't, then it won't work in the same way for you. So if you feel like they're the same thing, then you can do that too. I'm going to add in a few drops of lavender oil because lavender is for peace, and I want to protect myself from other people's road rage. It's also for calm, prosperity, and you guessed it, protection. I am having intrusive thoughts right now and I need to smell this. Oh, that's quite the mixture, that is. Right, I'm also going to add in some of this. This is protection water. You will see if you look on the label that it says do not ingest. That is because I don't know how well you can see it, but there are, I don't know how well you can see that, or even if you can see that at all, that there are pins, needles, nettles, holly, all sorts of things like that. This is protection water. You can see what it's done to the cork there. And that is to curse anything that might hurt me. Next up, I'm going to add a few drops of this. This is my homemade protection oil, and I would love to tell you what is in it, but as you can see, the writing has completely disappeared from the label. So I guess it's a secret. It wants to stay a secret. That's fair enough. I'm going to shake it up. I pour a little bit in there with the protection water, but then I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to use it to anoint the spell candle in a moment. That's all my ingredients, but next we're going to add in some fun stuff. Now, you can adapt this however you want. It's all about what matters to you, what is meaningful to you. I wanted to add some mirror into it to reflect any bad energy or bad intentions away from me. Obviously, with such a tiny, tiny little jar, it was difficult, But I had some little tiny craft mirrors that I used for like making mosaics and things, not that I used it for that. And so I have chopped them into tiny little shards of mirror, which aren't hurting my fingers because they're plastic. And I'm just going to pop those in as well. And then final ingredient for me, I'm adding in this tiny little key to bring success to all of my workings. Lovely. Now I'm going to seal the lid with the cork, but that isn't it done. What I'm going to do is then get one of my spell candles. I'm going to scratch my intentions onto here with a needle, anoint the candle with the oil. That just means rub some of the oil on the candle. Dust it with a little bit of this stuff, which is just ash that I collect from my incense from my magical workings. I'm going to pop that on top and let it burn all the way away until the wax is coming down the candle, except that this won't do that majorly because it's not very drippy wax. I can't do that now because I'm going out in a minute, so we'll complete this spell this evening and put it in the car tomorrow, and we'll come back and do that then together. My candle, I actually scratch it with a hat pin that I use specifically for that, but you don't have to. You can scratch it with anything, or you don't have to scratch it at all, I suppose it wouldn't really matter. I am using a black candle for protection, but you can use whatever candle colour feels right for you, or no candle at all. That is absolutely fine. So I will burn this candle on top of this jar until all this wax melts down. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm hoping to still find some comfrey. I've got a few other things to add in. Oh yeah, so I'm going to add in some orange peel. I'm going to eat my orange first. For general good luck, because there's always an element of luck when you're driving. And then I'm going to have a walk around the village to see if I can spot some comfrey to go in there, because that's a great travel protection herb. When I've found them, I'll put them in and then we'll burn this candle down. Just adding in some orange peel for luck, because there's always a certain element of luck when you're driving, isn't there? You're lucky that you didn't, meet that particular driver at that particular time, or, lucky with the traffic lights. You can be lucky in an accident that you weren't more hurt. And so we want lots and lots of luck in there. So I'm stuffing the top with some orange peel because that is associated with good luck. And I'm going to have a look around the village to see if I can't find some comfrey as well. There we go. Isn't that look cute? If I can find one, I'm going to stick a blueberry and some comfrey on top there. But for now, I'm going to seal that up until we've definitely finished putting all of the ingredients in. And once I have, we're going to light that candle and let it burn down over the top to seal the jar forever. And then we'll bury it in the car tomorrow. I did not unfortunately find any comfrey. It doesn't seem to be a good season for it, but I did find some herb Robert that I didn't even know I had growing in my own front garden. But this is an excellent herb for so many things, but for luck and protection especially. And so I'm going to use that in my jar in place of the comfrey. So we are going to add this in to my little spell jar, and then we're going to burn the little candle on it and bury it in the cart. I'm now using my hat pin to really stuff stuff in, otherwise it's just never going to fit in there. How it looks doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if it's all jumbled up and it's not in layers. It doesn't matter if you haven't got a pretty little key to put in there or any bits of crystal. It does not matter. What matters is what's inside it and what you intended when you made it. Now that the candle has all burned away, it can be put in the car. I'm going to bury it in the car where my spare wheel goes, partially so that it doesn't fly around the car in the event of an accident, I am wrapping mine up in this lovely soft sock. For that reason, it feels so nice. Partially to help prevent it from breaking, but also so that if it does break, it will contain the broken glass within that sock and it won't go and flatten my spare tyre. So now it's bundled up in there and you would just think it's a pair of socks, which also makes me look slightly less crazy when I go and put this in my car now in front of my neighbours. That's the inside of my boot. Doesn't it look nice and tidy? That's because the car's new. I'm going to lift this up. There's my spare tyre under there. And then I'm just going to pop this right down there. Safe and sound. So that was my protection jar spell for your car to give you safe travels, protect against accidents, road rage, getting lost, all that business, mechanical failure. Let's really hope that it works, yeah? Join me on Monday for my next vlog. I've got no idea whatsoever what I'm going to be vlogging about yet. It'll be another chaos vlog. Maybe one a bit like this again, who knows. If you can't wait till Monday to see me again, I do understand, pretty awesome. And so I will be here every single morning in your shorts, starting off your day with a great big deep breath to get that day off to the right start. And I'll be here twice on a Tuesday when I also check in with my terrarium Dave and let you know if I've killed him yet. Up until then, you have yourself a magical week.